Prepare yourself for the terror. The prison of madness, where few enter and none return.
Welcome to Unsung Horrors. With Lance. And Erica.
Leave all your sanity behind. It can't help you now.
Hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of Unsung Horrors, the podcast where we discuss underseen horror films, specifically those with fewer than 1,000 views on Letterboxd. I'm Lance.
And I'm Erica.
And before we jump into my pick for this episode, The Third Eye, let's chat quickly about Fantastic Fest.
Let's.
Yes. So it was a few weeks ago. It ran from September 22nd to the 29th. The at-home virtual programming was the 29th through October 4th. Erica, you attended in person.
I did.
I showed up for one screening in person.
You showed up for the best screening.
That's what I felt.
Yeah.
Because I did the at-home stuff. I wasn't impressed with at-home programming at all.
Yeah.
Well, I'll talk about a little bit about that. But for those who don't know, Fantastic Fest, it's an annual genre film festival here in Austin, Texas. It's put on by the Alamo Drafthouse. They have great worldwide national premieres. A lot of cast and crew of the films show up in attendance, kind of hang out. And not only do they show newly released films, they also program. AGFA does a lot of specialty programming. They have some special events surrounding the year's theme, if there's one. Was there one this year?
Sharks.
Oh, sharks.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I had been going on and off since 2013. I haven't been in person since 2019 for, some obvious reasons, but going in person is the way to do it, because I have done at home the last 2 years. But yeah, let's chat about what we watched.
Yeah. So I'll just go through like in-person stuff, and then we can talk about some of the at-home stuff.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. So, and then
in show notes too, we'll put, if you want to skip this and just go straight to the episode, we'll put in show notes where
timestamp where you can skip ahead if you don't want to hear me complain about new movies, because that's pretty much what the next 20 minutes are going to be.
Let's just fly through it.
So the premiere, the opener was Smile, and it's it stars, I forgot her name, Sosie Bacon, I think. She's Kevin Bacon and Kira Sedgwick's daughter.
Oh yeah, I saw they were there.
And a lot of people like this. They're making comparisons to It Follows and The Ring and other film, and I just it had an exhausting amount of jump scares. Not a single one of them got me.
Really?
Here's the best part of the movie is I saw it with my friend Emily, and she jumps at everything. So that was fun. Like just seeing her get scared by it. But I got tired of them. It feels, derivative. It's more trauma-based horror, and I'm so fucking sick of trauma-based horror. I'm over it. Like, just, you can have characters that the horror is not based on trauma. Like, that can exist. Like, that there was a movie in here I'll talk about later that did that. And it's just, I'm sick of it. I think it's derivative. And, people are like, oh, it's familiar. And I was like, no, familiar equals derivative. Like, it is exactly, it's so predictable. That that dumb Blumhouse Truth or Dare movie that had the CGI big smile.
Oh yeah,
it looks like that. It's goofy.
When they were doing because I'd watched a lot of baseball and like sporting events, and they were doing this marketing campaign with people standing up in the stands and just, I guess, trying to be creepy, but the whole time you're just kind of like laughing at the whole it's silly. Yeah.
And people, if you like this movie, I'm not sorry, but like, I don't.
A lot of people seem to be enjoying this one.
Yeah. And of course I don't, because,
I'll wait till it hits streaming, but yeah.
Don't
even watch it.
You can. I'm not going to tell anyone not to watch it.
Yes, you are.
I mean, yeah. You're going to watch it anyway, though, because you like everything. So
it's true.
I don't know. It's just I don't think the performances were very good either. Like, a lot of the scenes felt like they were audition or table reads of them. It's just like one static shot, and they're talking to each other, framed in the center, and it just felt like a table read to me. It was terrible, and I don't know. I didn't like Smile.
Okay,
moving on. Sorry. Okay, so this year's theme at Fantastic Fest was sharks.
Nice.
And so there's a lot of shark movies, most of them retrospective programs like 12 Days of Terror. I've seen pretty much all of them. So I only went to 2 shark movies. One of them was a new one called Year of the Shark. It's French. And the best way I could describe it is Fargo meets Jaws. It's from the same directors as Teddy, a werewolf movie from Fantastic Fest a few years ago, which neither of us really liked very much. I had fun with this one. It's kind of a fun black comedy. It's a little heavy-handed on the social commentary, but otherwise it's fun. The best thing about it is there's no CGI in this. They have an animatronic shark in this.
Oh, good. Respect.
And it's fun. It's super fun. The kill of I'm not spoiling anything if you've seen Jaws, but like the kill of the shark is a little anticlimactic, but the directors were there and explained like, yeah, we had planned it another way. And if you know anything about the making of Jaws and you know that we ran into some issues, or they ran into some issues, we had the same problems with it. So it ended up being an off-screen kill of the shark, which, it's unfortunate, but.
Are the directors twins or just brothers?
I think they're just brothers. They didn't look alike.
Okay. Nice.
They could be though. I didn't ask. I don't ask questions at Q&As.
Yeah, no. They should kill all those. Yeah, it should just be a moderator that has already has the set questions in most cases.
Yeah, every time someone from the audience asks a question, I'm just like, oh my God, here we go.
What's your tattoo of on your forearm? Like, what? Let's talk about the fucking movie.
Okay, so Year of the Shark, recommend it if it hits any of the streaming things at some point.
Nice.
And then I saw Huesera. So it's about a woman who, she's married now and she gets pregnant. And she seems really excited about it. But then there's all these flashbacks to her older life where she was just kind of like this young punk and like a musician and had all these things. And now she's like having to kind of settle down and she's realizing like, this probably actually isn't for me. And then so she's being haunted by this demon. I can't remember the name of it. And it's the sound effects in it, fucking hats off, because the bone cracking sounds in this, oh boy.
Yeah, I love a good sound effect. So
I liked it. I think it was a great performance by the lead actress about not being keen on motherhood because, relatable. And scares weren't overused. It felt a little bit longer than it was. It was only 93 minutes, but for whatever reason, sometimes when I watch movies in theaters, they feel like they're longer than they are.
Right.
So maybe it'll be different at home. But
I mean, that did seem to be the actual Fantastic Fest theme.
Oh my God.
There's long run times.
So many fucking movies.
Like Smile's real long.
Yeah, it's almost 2 hours. Doesn't deserve it. So many fucking movies were an hour and 45 to 2.5. And I skipped a lot of movies because I was like, I'm not going to see that. I didn't see Terrifier 2, which premiered there too. Because I was like, I'm not going to fucking watch Art the Clown for 2.5 hours. Fuck right off.
Yeah. Long run times. I noticed that in the programming.
So I skipped a lot of stuff because of that. Then The Menu, which is the new dark comedy that's coming out, where he finds Anya Taylor-Joy. Some other great actors are in it. John Leguizamo in it. It's about a bunch of people that are invited to an exclusive restaurant on an island by a chef. It's basically like a satire of the whole foodie culture and like, celebrity chefs and that whole thing. And I fucking hate foodies. So I had fun with this. It's dumb fun, like non-genre popcorn film is what I would call it.
Okay.
It's fun.
Yeah. When I showed up for, we'll talk about Solomon King, but in person, I saw some people that I hadn't seen in years. They all kind of pointed to The Menu and they're like, we had a lot of fun with this one.
Yeah. It's fun. It's not like, I'm not like, oh my God, it's great. And it's such a, poignant satire. Like, no, it's dumb, fun satire. Like that's what it is. So I enjoyed The Menu. I think that should be coming out next month.
Nice.
And then getting back to the shark theme, they had Gamera versus Ziggurat. This was a round 1 movie. So it was a great way to start the day. It was super fun. It's Gamera fighting this like shark alien thing. And, just super fun. There were only 4 other people in the theater, but everyone in there seemed to enjoy it. So
nice.
The round 1 movies are usually pretty sparse. Like a lot of people don't, especially after it gets a few days in, people are like, they're hungover from the night before. So they don't usually show up until round 2.
I love round 1 movies there. That's where I saw Ship of Monsters.
Hell yeah.
And that was, it was very minimal audience. just a blast, though.
Yeah.
Of course,
Super fun. Then I saw Spoonful of Sugar, which was sold as a Lifetime horror Hand Rocks the Cradle kind of situation. It was okay. I already forgot most of it. I think it's going to be on Shudder soonish, but I don't know. The ending shot is pretty great. If not, I mean, I saw it coming, but it was cool, like the way that they actually shot the end part of it. So I don't know.
Cool.
I'm sure people will watch it and probably like it more than me. I don't know. You know, I'm starting to question my Fantastic Fest attendance just because I generally don't like new movies a lot of times. So, and there's a lot of movies where I'm like, yeah, it's fine. Like, but my life has not changed by seeing it. Like Huesera, I liked it, but I'm like, am I any worse off for not having seen it? Like, no, but whatever. And then getting into more retrospective programs. So Park Chan-wook was in attendance because he had a new film, Decision to Leave, which I saw, and I really enjoyed that one. That man cannot make a bad movie as far as I'm concerned. But the first one I saw with him was Joint Security Area, which was one of my favorite films at Fantastic Fest because I had never seen it before. And I really loved it. It's about two groups of friends, or two pairs of friends, rather, at the DMZ who basically form a friendship. So two friends on north side, two friends on south side. It's so good. I mean, I can't say enough good things. If you haven't seen Joint Security Area, it's out there somewhere. I definitely recommend it. And then last movie of day 3, I saw Sick, which is a COVID slasher written by Kevin Williamson, directed by John Hyams. And so John Hyams has like a background in a lot of action movies. Like he did Universal Soldier, Day of Reckoning, and which is just a completely ridiculous, wild movie, which shows penises in that movie, by the way. There's a few cock shots in Universal Soldier, Day of Reckoning, by the way. Yeah. Shout out for that. But so Sick was fun with the crowd. I went into this expecting, I'm like, okay, it's Kevin Williamson. It's going to be some sort of like meta wink horror. That's fine. Like what I know that going into a movie that he wrote, but I did have fun with it. It is definitely a time capsule movie because it takes place in April of 2020. And it's when everyone was like using Lysol wipes to wipe down their groceries. And like, if you were out in public somewhere and coughed, everyone would turn and look at you and like all of those sort of things. And so there was a part of me that was like, haha, it's funny to like look back at 2.5 years ago now, and kind of laugh at like where we were. But also, I don't think this has rewatchability because I don't want to keep reliving that time, you know?
Yeah, no, I totally get that.
So
I have watched some COVID movies. I feel the same thing. Like, you know, there's cool stories and some ideas in here, but the setting is something that I think a lot of people don't want to remember or relive. Yeah. It's like that Running with Beto.
Oh God, I don't want to watch
documentary.
That ever. No.
I watched it once. I'm like, this is great. But at the same time, I'm like, why am I watching this? I don't want to relive this.
Yeah.
But anyway.
So, I mean, it's an interesting premise in how the motivation of the killer and how it's connected to COVID. I'm like, okay, like this is fun. And like, you know, it's minimal cast. And so it's fun. It's one of those movies that once it hits, like all of the Scream fans are going to love it.
Right.
So that's who it's for, essentially. I was fine with it. Cool. I'm never going to watch it again because I would like to put COVID behind me. And then the next day we started our day with Solomon King.
So Solomon King is a restoration that Deaf Crocodile is releasing on Blu-ray. I donated some money. I backed this. It was funded,
right?
So I threw some money at it. And Craig Rogers and Dennis Bartok, who are the founders for Deaf Crocodile, Craig pulled a ticket aside for me and was like, "Hey, you know, if you're in Austin, come check it out." And I'm like, "Fuck yeah, I'll definitely go."
You're like, "Yeah, I live there. I'll be there.
I'll be there." Are you going to call me on stage and do a cute no? But yeah, it's this movie that's filmed that was filmed in Oakland, I believe, and it's starring, directed, produced, written by Sal Watts in 1974. And this was the world premiere of this new restoration that Deaf Crocodile did, and it was so much fucking fun.
Yeah.
again, I hadn't been in person in Fantastic Fest in years. So this was an early show too.
It was, round one, I think.
Yeah. So it was cool to see, it's definitely, because I only watched a few movies at home, but this is how you do the festivals in person.
Yeah.
I got to see and sit and hang out with you.
Yeah.
Saw a bunch of people I hadn't seen since I last attended in like 2019. So I wanted to stay for the whole day, but I didn't get a badge. I had things to do too.
Yeah. But this was such a great movie to see with a crowd too.
Oh yeah.
And I think it'll probably be on the disc, but Saul Watts' wife, they had an interview with her play after the film. And she had talked about how proud Watts was of this film because he did not put a single pimp or drug dealer or anything like that in this film. He was like, no, obviously there has to be some sort of conflict in here, but I'm not going to paint that type of person. I'm not going to play into that stereotype. And it's full DIY. You can tell everyone's having a blast making this movie.
Oh yeah. You could see people like smiling on screen, like while they're doing action, like serious, given to the story. They're supposed to be in character, but they're smiling and having so much fun.
Yeah. So if you didn't get a chance to back the crowdfunding to get a disc for this, it'll be coming from Deaf Crocodile, which is part of Vinegar Syndrome Partners, and you can get it through there. So keep an eye out for that. Definitely recommend Solomon King.
Yeah, and it was cool too because, like you said, Belinda Burton Watts, his wife, did that video interview, which was real great. But they also had some of his children there in attendance, which was, they had a quick introduction. They didn't have a lot to say, just that Sal Watts was really passionate about anything and everything he did. The soundtrack is a banger. And,
oh my God, Sister Sheila is gonna heal you! Holy hell! So good.
Yeah, all the fashion is from like Sal Watts, like his own fashion stores that he ran. Everything was kind of filmed in his own house. So yeah, the interviews and the extras, I think that'll be on the discs included, is like just as much fun to watch and listen to than the film itself. But definitely pick this up.
So then after that was Family Dinner. I'm just going to read my exact notes. Forgettable, which was, I'm having a hard time right now. Easter Horror. That's what this is. So the niece comes to her aunt's house and her new husband, and they have the aunt has a son who's about the girl's age. The girl's a little bit bigger and she wants to lose weight, and the aunt is like written this book about how to lose weight, going on this diet program kind of thing. It turns into this kind of like family psychological horror where you're not sure if the aunt is the crazy one or the son, because they're both kind of saying she's crazy. No, he's crazy to the niece who's coming there to visit. Pretty predictable ending. It saves the only quote unquote real horror for the end, I think. Yeah, I don't know. There's not that much Easter horror out there. There's Critters 2 and I don't know, the Beaster Bunny, I think is one, or something like that.
I mean, yeah.
I don't know.
If that's not a movie, it will be soon.
Yeah, there's not that much. So, I mean, I guess if you're desperate for Easter horror, you could check it out. But I honestly, I barely remember this movie. And it was like 2 weeks ago that I watched it. Anyway, sorry, folks. So then after that, I watched Piggy, which this won the Fantastic Fest Award for Best Horror Movie. Spanish film. It's about a young woman who's constantly bullied for being overweight. But there's also a serial killer in that same town going around killing people. And she witnesses the serial killer kidnap this group of girls who were bullying her, who stole her clothes and stuff from the local swimming hole. And so she had to walk home in her bathing suit and just humiliated. And so she sees these girls getting kidnapped and the girls are in the back of the truck like, help us. And she is like, fuck you. Nice. But then all these circumstances kind of evidence starts popping up and circumstances start kind of pointing to her. And, she initially lied about where she was. And so it gets a little bit complicated. It's got a really gory ending to it. So, I liked Piggy. Then was the first secret screening, which was Marvel's Werewolf by Night. And I walked out.
What?
I did. After because so what normally happens at a secret screening is they'll kind of play a joke. Like, I think before they introduced Benedetta, Tim League was up there joking about some 60s Czech movie that he found at a film festival.
Right.
Anyway, no, they came straight out and were like, "Oh yeah, Marvel's Werewolf by Night," and I was like,
And wasn't the security pretty tough too? Like people were, because I'd been in secret screenings. I think Knives Out was a big one where people are studio security kind of are along the rows
the aisles,
and they're just making sure you're not pulling out phones and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I would think since this is a Disney production.
Which was coming to, it's out now.
I watched it.
And I walked out because I'm like, I'm not at Fantastic Fest to watch a fucking Marvel TV show. I'm sorry. Like and I wasn't the only one. Like literally you could hear kind of like a sigh, I think, because it projects from the main theater, and I wasn't in the main theater, and you could hear maybe a few people clap from the main theater, but like it was it was dead silent, and like a few people, like you could hear some mumbles when they announced it, and like I'm not trying to be like a fucking snob about it, but I divorced Marvel when I divorced my husband. I have not seen a fucking Marvel movie since then, and I don't intend to, and I was not going to stick around for this because I don't give a fuck about it.
I mean, it's a big, I agree. You know, I totally agree. If I'm going to a secret screening at Fantastic Fest or any place, I think there should be some rules. I don't think it should be a documentary, even though I think documentaries are some of the best programmed films at festivals. I think it should be a narrative feature length film. Werewolf by Night has like it's under an hour. I think it's like 45-minute runtime without credits. And that kind of fucks your schedule up for, midnight movies afterwards. Like it's not a good pick. I mean, I think it's a big get for the festival, premiering a Disney, Marvel's obviously fucking huge.
Right.
But yeah, I would have been disappointed too. And I did watch it and it was fine. Like it didn't blow me away or anything, but I'll still watch every Marvel movie. I haven't watched the TV series, but I'm still on Marvel.
Fine, whatever.
Sorry, Erica.
Don't apologize. Whatever. That was my divorce, not yours. So don't worry about it. But yeah, so that was frustrating for me. I walked out. I went home because I didn't want to wait 3 hours for the midnight show.
Yeah, exactly. That's a big it's a 45-minute. What are you going to do? You're going to watch it, walk out, wait hours for your next screening, and just talk about a 45-minute episode
that's going to be on streaming next week. All right, I need to move on because I'm just going to get mad.
Let's go.
So then the next day, I only did 2 movies the next day. I did first round King on Screen, which is a documentary about Stephen King films. And it was fine. They had, a lot of people that you would expect to be interviewed, like Frank Darabont, who's, done The Mist and The Green Mile. Plenty of other people who've done his adaptations. My problem with this film, surprise, Eric has a problem with it, is not a single woman is interviewed in this. It is all white men talking heads.
That's terrible.
The entire fucking film. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
Well, the filmmaker's the director's a woman too.
Yes. And I'm like, anyway.
Yeah, terrible. So
that was frustrating because it got about halfway in, and when I realized that, I was like, "There's no women in this." like I'm you and I are the same age. We both grew up reading Stephen King, watching Stephen King movies.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a huge fan of that because that was a huge part of my childhood.
Oh yeah, my mom is the one who got me into Stephen King as a kid. Yeah,
and it's like so to go to that and not see myself represented or anything even close. Just it was all like directors and actors. There was no fans, and I'm like, okay, well, if you realize like, oh, well, I can't get Mary Lambert, so find some fans like Julia Marchesi. I think that's how her last name is pronounced. She's adapting something that's a Stephen King book. Like, why isn't I saw her name in credits? I'm like, why isn't she a talking head in there?
Right.
Like,
well, I mean, there's so many like great actors, actresses that are in Stephen King movies that you could probably get, like Dolores Claiborne, Gerald's Game. I mean, so many strong female leads.
Yeah. So that was frustrating for me. And then to cap it off at the very end of it, they still had some segments of interviews running while credits were playing on, like, so it was split screen.
Right.
But then they had Ramone's Pet Sematary playing, but they were played at the exact same volume, so you couldn't hear what the people were saying in the interviews. Like, what the fuck is it? Please fix that before this goes streaming anywhere.
King
Somebody.
on screen.
King on screen.
More like sausage on screen. You know what I'm talking about? Men sausage fest on screen. People, good stuff. No women. You get it?
I get it.
Yeah, you guys can use that.
I'm not laughing at that. So yeah, I honestly, I can't really recommend King on screen. I'm sure if you're a King fan, you'll probably watch it, but whatever. And then I came back later that night for Bones and All, which is the new film from Luca Guadagnino. I cannot pronounce those Italian last names.
It has Timotei in it.
Yes. I don't understand the love for this kid. He needs to eat something. That boy is like a fucking broomstick. It is not attractive.
Yeah, I don't understand. I mean, I don't think he's like an ugly person, like as far as his face goes, but yeah, he's pretty skinny.
Anyway, I don't understand the love for this. But anyway, the director also did the remake of Suspiria, which is one of the few remakes that I do like. This film, it's absolutely gorgeous. He takes a pastoral landscape of the Midwest and it looks fantastic. It's basically about a couple of young kids who are both cannibals. It's in their blood. But there's other people out there. And so they find each other and develop a relationship. And so it's kind of about their love story. I did really enjoy it. It's a beautiful film. I'm not a fan of Timothée Chalamet. I guess he's fine as an actor. I don't know.
I mean, most of the stuff I've seen him in, I think he is really great.
Okay.
Dune is
maybe I was
fantastic.
Just distracted because all I could think was like, eat some pizza, eat some fucking carbs. My God, man. But
yeah, it sounds like it's good. It's a good casting for this role. I mean, he did work with the director before in Call Me by Your Name,
right? Yeah.
So
yeah.
I could maybe that's why he was cast, but. I mean, I don't know the character. Like, are they kind of sickly? Are they supposed to be kind of sickly looking?
She's like nice and healthy looking. So yeah, I mean, I know they don't only eat human flesh; like they eat normal food too. So he could eat something.
Timothée. I do want to see this one though.
Yeah, I want to definitely rewatch it because there's something about how it ended that. I felt like the film could have gone a step further to be more in line with the title of the film. But maybe it was implied and I missed it. So I'm definitely going to rewatch it in the future. Gorgeous film. I really liked Bones and All. I watched Venus, which is directed by Jaime Balaguero. He was the co-director of Rec. I think most people think about Rec and they think Paco Plaza, but this is the other director. And it's about a club dancer, Lucia, who steals some drugs from her employers to try to like make money and find a way out of this life. And she goes to her sister's who lives in a decrepit apartment building, but there's some like weird witchcraft stuff going on there. So she gets caught up in that. I liked it. It's good. Yeah. Moving on. Sorry. I'm trying to like blast through these. So
no, it's it.
A Wounded Fawn, Travis Stevens' new movie. This was shot on 16 millimeter and it looks fucking phenomenal.
Nice.
Because everything that is shot on film looks better.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, you see it.
So yeah, this looks great. I did like a lot of the visual elements, and I like that this is a huge departure from modern horror. It is not trauma-based. It is not nostalgia bait bullshit. It's just straight up weird visual horror, like on acid. Some of the dialogue was a little questionable towards the end when it came to like the female characters talking to him about what he's done. So, I mean, that kind of took me out of it a little bit, actually. But I do think everyone should see this because it looks fucking great.
Yeah, Travis Stevens, I think he's having a great, his directing, because he's been pumping out movies since 2018. Better Off Said. Then he did Girl on the Third Floor, which I watched at South by Southwest. I didn't care for it, but CM Punk, I wanted to see CM Punk. Then he did Jacob's Ladder last year, or Jacob's Ladder.
Oh,
then
God.
Then he did Jacob's Wife last year.
Oh, okay. I was like, he did Jacob's Ladder?
No, the one with Barbara Crampton. And,
yeah.
And then now this Wounded Fawn and everything. He just keeps taking a step up, it sounds like, which I'm excited to see what he does next.
Yeah, so I would definitely recommend Wounded Fawn. It'll probably end up on Shudder, I would imagine. That seems like the place for a movie like that.
Yeah.
Decision to Leave, saw that, already talked about it. Fantastic. the new movie from Park Chan-wook. Then was an Agfa mystery movie, which so there were 5 that day, and I didn't miss anything that I wouldn't have seen, that I hadn't already seen anyway. But the one that I that I have already seen, that I own and that I love, I was like, I am not missing this, because it was a 35 millimeter print of The Hidden.
Yes.
The director, Jack Shoulder, was there, did a Q&A afterwards. I fucking love The Hidden. This was so much fun to watch with a crowd. There were a lot of people who'd never seen it before who were losing their minds.
I love it.
It was so good.
So good.
Yeah. Zach and Ivan took a picture with Jack Shoulder because they were like, we want to get a shoulder to shoulder to shoulder picture.
Perfect.
It was cute. Yeah. So yeah, second favorite screening after Solomon King. So again, all of my favorites are going to be the older films. So.
Right.
With one exception, a new film that I really, really did enjoy called Leonore Will Never Die. This is a Philippine film, and it's about Leonore. She's an older retired filmmaker. A television falls on her head and she falls into a coma. But before that happened, she saw something in an advertisement about submitting, submit your screenplay for a chance to get your movie made. And so she starts getting nostalgic for like her old career that she used to have. And she's like, I have that unfinished script. I should finish it. But before she gets a chance to do that, she falls into the coma. So then her son and her ex-husband find this script and they're like, I wonder if, we can help finish it or get this movie made. Maybe that'll help get her out of the coma, because we don't know if she can hear us or not.
Right.
While she's in the coma, she has now inserted herself into her movie.
Oh, cool.
And this is a script from, the 80s or the 70s. And so when that part of the film is playing out, her script coming to life, it looks exactly like, an early 80s Philippine action film. And so I am not usually a fan of throwback movies, like Hobo with a Shotgun. I'm just like, okay, those movies already happened and you're trying to recreate it and it doesn't look right. And I can't get behind it. This legitimately does. And so I really, really liked this one.
Nice.
Yeah. So Leonore Will Never Die. Definitely recommend that one. Oh, next secret screening after that was the new Hellraiser.
Oh, yeah.
And again, this was going to be in streaming in a week. And it wasn't shot to be played on the big screen. This was shot for television. And so the sound was weird with it. Like it wasn't right. Anyway, I'm not going to get into the theater experience with it. A lot of people were really excited about this. I know this is out already. A lot of people have seen it. A lot of people really like it. A lot of people hate it.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it, I guess. My problem with it is, the first of all, it's too long, like everything else at Fantastic Fest. The first 3 kills are all off screen. Like they're not even building up and saying, okay, we're going to have this first one be off screen and you'll just see like the chains or whatever. But then we'll like show a little bit in the next one. No, it actually goes down because like one guy you kind of see like in the background being dragged by chains. And then the next 2 are just completely off screen. And then later it gets into showing some actual gore. I think my problem too with it is that, and this is, a lot of this is me, because Hellraiser is one of my absolute favorite horror movies of all time. This was my gateway into, oh shit, horror movies can do this. Like they're not all Jason, Freddy, Michael Myers kind of, and just how transgressive and dirty the original Hellraiser is. Like Frank, his body just coming out of the floorboards and how sinewy and goopy that is. You don't get that. Like these Cenobites are clean. Like it looks like all the extra blood was like wiped off, like where it's open and exposed. So it looks just too clean and perfect for me.
Right.
Versus something like, like Butterball, who's just this fucking sweaty mess.
Right.
And even Pinhead, he's just got some open wounds, but they look like they're dripping. They look wet. So like the Cenobites in this, it just looks like it looks fabricated. It looks dry. They don't look like real flesh wounds.
Yeah. When you do that with the franchise, and even like with Star Wars and stuff, like some of like in Rogue One or something, I don't mean to like jump to Disney or anything, but
here we go.
No, any franchise though. Yeah. If you're doing a sequel that might take place before it, or you're doing a prequel to an original, or even if you're doing a sequel, everything does look cleaned up and more unrealistic than the original.
Yeah.
So yeah, when you compare like to the original, like most of this stuff just does not work.
And I'm like, but that's like the part of the core essence of it to me too. And it doesn't feel, there's no kink in there. There's no like, BDSM undertones to it. I also don't like the main character. Our main character is an addict. So she's, unreliable. And it's like, we did that with Evil Dead. We did it's like Dr. Sleep is another one. It's like, oh, he's an alcoholic. He's unreliable. I'm tired of trauma and addiction based horror and main characters. And like, can we try something fucking new?
Yeah.
She's not very, I don't know. She's not very likable. It takes too long to raise hell. I think I gave it 2 stars, and now I'm like thinking about it. I'm like, maybe I was too generous with it. Whatever.
Damn.
I know people like it. It's not.
Yeah, I haven't watched it yet. I do want to see it. I do think the Cenobite, like the designs do look really cool. The exposed flesh. It does look very clean.
Yes.
But artistically, I'm like, that looks fucking awesome.
I do want to say though, that Jamie Clayton as the new priest, I think she's great. Like, cool. I think that was a really good choice. I think that she delivers her line. She's believable. I just don't like the look because it's too fucking clean. Like, she looks like she sat down in a fucking makeup chair to get like perfectly primped for her.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, moving on from Hellraiser. I know a lot of people, even some of our listeners, like that movie. No, it's not for me. So the last movie I watched in theater was Living with Chucky. And this is a documentary that was made by the daughter of one of the puppeteers who worked on a number of the Chucky films.
Oh, cool. I didn't realize that.
So yeah, it's like the whole, premise is that, she wanted to interview all of the people that were her dad's sort of other family kind of thing. And it's really fun. It's, it walks through all of the Chucky movies, not the remake with the AI doll. So it goes through all of the movies pretty briefly. It's got interviews with, obviously with director and crew members and a lot of the cast members. I think the director was, it's a case of, and this is, Emily saw this too, my friend. And she was like, I think the director's too close to the subject matter because she doesn't know what to cut out. Like she thinks everything is relevant.
Right.
And so I saw it after her in round 2 and I was like, yeah, absolutely. Because there's interviews in there with Marlon Wayans, and Lynn Shay and a couple of other people who have never been in a Chucky movie, but have just been in horror movies. And it's almost as if they were being interviewed for something else because they're not, nothing that they say, none of their sound bites have anything to do with Chucky. They never mention Chucky. It's just them talking about general sort of horror tropes or their own experiences working in horror movies. So those 2 talking heads could have been cut out completely and it actually would have made the film better, I think. Like just focus on the people involved with Chucky. I'm sure those were great gets. Like, oh my God, I got Lynn Shay and Marlon Wayans to interview for this. Great. They don't add anything to this. In fact, they take away from it, I think. So
yeah, I mean, I'm looking at some of the other people that are included, and you do have like all the essentials from the franchise. Mm-hmm. Yeah, then you see Lynn Shay.
Yeah.
Marlon Wayans. I'm like, what?
Yeah. My favorite is like Brad and Fiona Dourif were interviewed together, and they're so cute about like the passing of the Chucky torch thing. That was great. And and people are probably surprised, but like I love the Child's Play / Chucky series. I think it's great. I think it's one of the most consistently good ones.
I think the first 3 are on the same level. I mean, I can't pick a favorite from the first 3.
3 is not. I don't think 3 is that great.
Oh, it's so bad. It's so campy and good.
All right, fine. You can have that one. But like, there's really not an absolute fucking stinker in all of that. 1 and 2, I think are fantastic. 3, fine. Lance says it's fine, good. Bride of Chucky, Seed of Chucky, like those are like ridiculous, campy fun.
Right.
And then you get into the newer ones, like Cult of Chucky, and when Fiona gets introduced, like those are really good too. Like, I mean, I'm saying really good, like in terms of like what they are. It's a killer doll movie, you know, but
Right.
it stayed true to what it was. And that's because all of these same people kept being involved with it throughout the years.
Yeah. Don Mancini taking over directing again. Yeah.
And so, yeah, I do. I like this series. I was excited to see it. And I think I did enjoy it, but I was a little frustrated with like me having to constantly hear Lin Shaye talk about shit that was not relevant to this at all. So, then we had Fantastic Fest at home.
Yeah. And I only watched a handful of movies.
I watched. So I added I did an add-on ticket because you got a discount if you had a badge. And so I was like, yeah, because at that point there was plenty of stuff on there that I wanted to watch, including The People's Joker, which not Fantastic Fest fault because that got pulled for, you know, multiple, you know, not necessarily copyright, but cease and desist reasons. It played once at TIFF. If you want to learn more about that, our friends at Death by Video, Graham from there, he went to that. They've got an episode about it. So yeah, that got pulled. And then two of the movies that I wanted to watch, and then I just lost track of time because they expired because you can only rent them, quote unquote, for a couple of days. So like there's a couple documentaries like Mr. Organ and Chop and Steel that I really wanted to watch and I didn't get a chance to because I went on there when I had time and I was like, oh, they expired. Now I can't watch them. So I watched one movie at Fantastic Fest at home. So I paid $60 for one movie.
I mean, I paid more than that for like the 4 I watched.
Yeah.
Because the expiration thing, I don't get. I mean, I guess most at-home festivals, virtual festivals do this where they kind of drop them at different time frames, which makes sense to me. But to expire like the first couple that start from day one, I don't understand it.
Yeah. It was just hard because I was sick. And so like I was, you know, it started the last day of Fantastic Fest. So I was like, well, I'm exhausted. I'm not going to watch anything. And then you and I recorded and then
the one I wanted to watch was expired while we were recording, I think, or like right before we were recording.
Yeah.
And that's the one you got to see.
Lynch Oz.
Yeah.
Yeah. You didn't, that's right. You didn't get to see that. Okay.
Yeah. We checked after recorded and it was expired. And I was like, what the fuck?
That sucks.
Yeah.
That was good. Lynch Oz makes me, 2023 is going to be my Lynch rewatch year. Like,
yes.
Because everything that they touched on and how it relates to The Wizard of Oz, and it pulls all these clips of Lynch actually referencing it. I'm like, okay, I need to go back and revisit everything because I haven't watched Twin Peaks since I was watching it with my mom on TV when it was premiering. Yeah, I need to revisit Mulholland Drive. I mean, I just watched Mulholland Drive, so I saw a lot of that already. But like plenty of other films like Blue Velvet and a bunch of others, like, okay, next year of Lynch, because this movie just made me want to rewatch everything he's done.
Yeah, I really want to see this doc because I love David Lynch.
I know. It's good. So I hope it comes out soon for you because that's shitty that it expired so quickly.
Yeah. And so the selection when I finally started jumping in on the at-home stuff I just wasn't impressed at all with. They do a lot of sharing and which is cool, but a lot of movies that they showed at past Fantastic Fest is available to you.
Yeah.
I'd seen a lot of them already. But I only watched maybe 4? Yeah, 4 movies. I watched Shin Ultraman.
Okay.
Which was good. I mean, it's written by Hideaki Anno, who wrote Shin Godzilla, which was one of my favorites from Fantastic Fest in 2015, 16?
Okay.
16 maybe? Yeah, there's a lot of the same cast and crew as Shin Godzilla. As soon as it started, though, I was like, oh, hell yeah. I remember this because I had to settle in because it's incredibly talky. It moves, the pacing is so fast. Like, it's just, it's kind of like an inside look at how people react to these, like, you know, kaiju coming and destroying the city.
Right.
And it's a government and it's very procedural, but I loved it. I mean, the first hour is like 100 miles an hour. I was completely sold on it. Really creative. It kind of unravels for me a little bit at the end, but it's it's entertaining. I mean, it's another movie that was just under 2 hours. So when I started it, I was like, I wonder if I'll finish it.
Mm-hmm.
But I do recommend it. It has some iffy CGI, but it also has some great CGI. So it almost felt like it was the first half is super strong and really focused. The second half is just kind of like, let's wrap this up.
Yeah.
But that was a lot of fun. Then I watched a documentary called A Life on the Farm about this eccentric man named Charles Carson who lives in Somerset, England. And he made these home videos of him on the farm, little skits or just him talking about farm life. And he would hand out these VHS copies to people in the town. And some of them were like 3 hours long. And, he would see him later on after giving it to him and be like, hey, did you watch my video? And ask questions about it. And he's very endearing, very, just a fun old man to watch. But a lot of the, most of the documentary's interviews with the people that knew him were handed the videos and a lot of just his footage that he shot. Mm-hmm. It's intriguing to watch. It's sad, but he does a lot of questionable things. He keeps his dead cat for a while before burying it, which, the ceremony when he buries it's a lot of fun to watch. Very touching. He wheels his dead mother around. She dies on the farm at 94, and he wheels her around in a wheelchair for 3 days. So the cows could pay their last respects. He takes her out to the fields to all the animals, filming all this. His father dies. It's a lot of the same thing. He takes pictures with him and basically saying he's not feeling well because he passed away. Just weird, strange dialogue, but it's very captivating. Okay. Production wise, it's a bit rough because the music that's filmed is during the interviews and stuff, music that's being played is just as loud. So it's hard to hear some of the talking heads, but it's only 75 minutes long, worth of time. Okay. And then I watched Jay Burleson's Slashers, the third Saturday in October, part 5, which I think you're supposed to watch first. It's, it's like a fake sequel. It's a horror comedy, and it worked for me. It actually landed. Oh, okay. This one takes place in the 90s. I thought it had great pacing. So
is it doing like the Fear Street thing?
It's kind of like the Fear Street. I've never seen the Fear Street movies, but this one is kind of like, when I first was reading about it, I was like, oh, it's like Unmasked Part 25. It's a fake sequel about a serial killer. Yeah. But yeah, this one is basically, it's presented really well like a 90s sequel. Like they pull a lot of elements from the Halloween series, like the 90s Halloween movies. Practical effects are great. Digital blood, which is always terrible. Yeah. There's a main little girl. Her name's PJ. It's played by Poppy Cunningham. Or she's played by Poppy Cunningham, and she's the main kid in The Death of Dick Long. Did you ever watch that?
Yeah, I saw the Fantastic Fest.
Yeah, that was fucking fun. And she's great in this. The cast overall is really good in this. It's a fun little slasher. Okay. There's a nice little message inserted here and there about spay and neutering your pets, which is
good.
But the original I didn't have as much fun with. This one takes place in the 70s. It's the whole like creation of the slasher. Mm-hmm. The whole thing is, so the third Saturday in October is this football rivalry against the hometown Mobile, Alabama Seahawks and the Tennessee A&M, which is like this college football game. Okay. So that's the third Saturday in October. The whole town gets around it. And then this origin story, this man who killed a bunch of people is executed, and he ends up coming back, very much like Michael Myers. But yeah, I haven't looked into to see if like Jay Burleson's going to be making more of these sequels. I doubt it, because I think the most intriguing part of these two being released in the same year is that he, released a sequel, then he released the original. I kind of hope he leaves it alone at this, but who knows? All right. But yeah, that's about it. I mean, overall, like I said, I wasn't too impressed with it. I'm sure all the movies that I didn't watch are great and fun to watch, probably were fun, but yeah, with the expiration timeline, it wasn't good.
I just didn't help that I got sick, and I was just like, I don't have the energy to watch new movies right now. So, because new movies take more energy for me to watch. I cannot just like sit down and be comforted by them. Like,
oh yeah,
I'm not saying I hate watch all new movies, but I hate watch a lot of new movies.
Yeah, I mean, there's some I'll watch as soon as they come out, but yeah, usually I'll just sit, because I do want to watch the new Hellraiser. I still haven't watched Prey, the new Predator movie. There's a lot of new movies that I want to see, I just don't. And that's it with Fantastic Fest.
All right, we're gonna jump into The Third Eye right after this promo from our network.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal, providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.
Let's get into this episode's movie.
Yay.
The Third Eye from 1966. As of this recording, it has 256 views on Letterboxd, but this number will likely blow up pretty soon.
Yes.
Because Arrow Video just released The Third Eye on a Blu-ray, in a limited set called Gothic Fantastico: 4 Italian Tales of Terror.
Mine will be here next week.
Yes.
And
So was it announced when I
Yes,
before?
It had been, and I completely spaced on it. And and then afterwards I was like, oh shit. I think it came up on Disconnected. He does like a Thursday stream and does like announcements and stuff like that. And when he was doing it, it didn't come up in this last one, but like a previous one, I think it got mentioned and I was like, oh fuck, that's right. And then anyway, so it's already on Arrow Player now.
It is.
Thank you, Robert, for pointing that out. Cause I don't have Arrow Player.
I don't either.
But I don't pay for streaming. So it's on Arrow Player now. It's on YouTube. Or you can get that box set from Arrow, which has great films in there.
It does, yeah. So it's released, October 18th?
Next week.
Or
actually, this episode will be out, so it's out now. Yes.
It was released yesterday. That's when the episode drops, is the 19th. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
New 2K restorations on all the films, along with The Third Eye, just to sell it. The set includes The Blancheville Monster, Lady Morgan's Vengeance, also starring Erica Blanc, who's in The Third Eye, Damiano Damiani's The Witch,
yes,
written by Ugo Liberatore.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. He also wrote Damned in Venice, which we fucking covered, and it rules. I watched The Witch for that episode, for the Damned in Venice, and it's haunting little cat and mouse game of thrill. It's good. Watch it. I'm very excited for this set. I haven't pre-ordered it yet, but I will.
Yeah. I'm getting mine on Monday or Tuesday. Monday or Tuesday it'll be here.
Nice.
Actually, when this episode, I cannot do time. When this episode comes out, I will have it in my hand.
Time is a flat, so it doesn't matter.
Yes.
But if you don't have Arrow Player or don't plan on getting the set, it is available to watch on YouTube. It's the Italian version with subtitles, which I would recommend. Usually the English subs are a little rough sometimes.
Yeah, they're fine.
Okay, so The Third Eye, it's a pretty straightforward plot. It can get a little convoluted, but as always, there's going to be some spoilers when we talk about this. So this is a quick summary. You have a young man, Mino, who lives in a large castle with his domineering mother and their housekeeper, Marta. Mino is in love with his fiancée, and he's also in love with taxidermy. And his mother and the housekeeper both disapprove of his fiancée, Laura. So Marta, the housekeeper, cuts Laura's brake lines, which results in Laura being killed in an automobile accident. And Marta also kills Mino's mother, the Countess, by pushing her down the stairs and bashing her head in. Because her end goal seems to be to take over the castle and marry Mino. The death of Laura and his mother causes Mino to have a full mental breakdown, and being a taxidermist, he preserves his wife's dead body and sets her up in his bed while he begins to bring women over to murder in his room. Marta helps him with covering up these murders he's committing, trying to force him to fall in love with her. But Laura's twin sister, who actually ends up being her younger sister, but they look exactly the same. We're going to call her twins.
Sure.
So Laura's twin sister, Daniela, shows up wanting to search for Laura's body for a proper burial. Marta tries to kill Daniela because Mino is falling in love with her because he thinks she's Laura. So he goes berserk, kills Marta, and focuses in on Daniela. And then we'll talk about the ending.
Yeah.
The Third Eye is directed by Mino Guarini. He went by James Warren in the credits. And Guarini started off as a journalist and post-war artist, painting canvases and using mixed media in the early 1950s when he was in his 20s. He was an accomplished painter. I looked up some of his works, and they're really cool.
Nice.
Very modern, great design. Some pieces still come up on auction. But watching The Third Eye, you can kind of see like an artist at work with some of the framing compositions and the staging of the actors.
Yeah.
And before directing, he acted and wrote. He acted in and he wrote films, co-writing The Girl Who Knew Too Much or The Evil Eye in 1963, Mario Bava, starring your favorite, John Saxon.
Hell yeah.
He co-starred in a comedy drama directed by Damiano Damiani. I love that name so much.
It's so much fun to say.
Damiano Damiani, called The Reunion in 1963. And comedies seem to be Guarini's thing. Most of his films, like 90% of the films he wrote, acted in, and directed were comedies. The Third Eye is the only horror film he directed. He also wrote and directed a few crime films like Gangsters 70 and Date for a Murder, but his focus seemed mainly doing Italian comedies. And he seemed to have a sense of humor when filming. So there's an assistant director for The Third Eye credited as Robert Drake, who was Ruggero Deodato.
Oh, yeah.
And, we all know who he is. We covered Dial Help
Yep.
on a previous episode. And Deodato apparently has provided some odd stories about working with Guarini. On The Third Eye, calling him a very eccentric, peculiar character, he claims while they were filming a scene, Guarini randomly dropped his trousers and shit on the floor in front of the crew. Just as like a shock tactic, make people laugh. And he would walk around the set naked at times. So, seemingly maybe to make people laugh, put him in a silly mood, maybe show his actors what he's willing to do on set.
Okay.
I don't know. The interviews I was able to find with some of the cast and crew, they have nothing but great things to say about Guarini.
Yeah.
So he's obviously a fun director, but probably one that he'd probably get canceled if he was still working today.
I know.
But come on, I'd love to see like some eccentric.
He made his movies in the right time. So, yeah.
I mean, Hitchcock dropping trowel and just dropping a deuce on the door. Like, what a great story if that were real. Guarini co-wrote The Third Eye with an Italian screenwriter that we've talked about in the past, Piero Renoli.
Yeah.
Credited here as Dean Craig. Renoli's written some of our favorites, Bianchi's Burial Ground, Lindsay's Nightmare City, Patrick Still Lives, all these films we covered are ones that you picked, by the way, that are popping up.
Italy is just, the best.
It's the best.
So.
Cry of a Prostitute. I mean, whenever you see Renoli's name involved in film, you're in good hands.
Yeah.
Which I think is the case here for The Third Eye. Ermanno Donati is the producer of The Third Eye, and he actually came up with the story for the film. He's credited as Phil Young, but during the opening credits, the script is said to be adapted from a short story by Gil de Rais. Mm-hmm. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
So this is a fictitious author, and it's presented to, I guess, presumably give the film some sense of believability.
They did the same thing with Mill of the Stone Women. You remember?
That's right.
The opening credits had that, and it was like, yeah, that story doesn't exist.
Right. So this one, the name used, Gil de Rais, he was actually a famous French nobleman from the 1400s, and he's regarded as one of history's first serial killers.
Sick.
But not just a normal serial killer.
Necrophiliac serial killer?
Well, no, he killed, but he confessed to being a killer of children specifically.
Oh, good for him.
And he claims to have killed possibly hundreds of them. And in his own confession, when I was looking him up on Wikipedia, he testified that when the children were dead, he kissed them. And those who had the most handsome limbs and heads, he held up to admire. And he had their bodies cruelly cut open and took delight at the sight of their inner organs. And very often when the children were dying, he sat on their stomachs and took pleasure in seeing them dying and would laugh. Brutal stuff.
Damn.
So, Gil de Rais, respect. But yeah, I mean, I guess it was maybe a way to add a little bit more macabre to the film. I don't know, using that name. Okay, The Third Eye was edited by Ornella McKelly, another person involved in a lot of horror movies that we love. Fulci's Don't Torture a Duckling, The Psychic, or as I prefer, Seven Notes in Black, For the Apocalypse, both White Fang films with Franco Nero, a few of the Sartana films. Good editor, good stuff. Cinematography is by Alessandro Deva, and I think the photography in The Third Eye is gorgeous. It's shot black and white, really well done. He did a lot of Italian comedies, but he did photograph Death Walks on High Heels in 1971. The original score is by Francesco De Masi, and he's another pro that you see in a lot of our favorite Italian films.
Yeah.
Not just ours, but yours. The New York Ripper, Kill Baby Kill, The Inglourious Bastards, Escape from the Bronx, Castellari's movies. For budgetary reasons, so the score used in The Third Eye is recycled from previous films that Demasi did. Ricardo Frida's The Ghost from 1963 and Hyena of London, 1964. So although this is a black and white film, I did want to point out the makeup artist, which was done by Giuliano Laurenti, who did the makeup for Argento's Deep Red and Four Flies on Grey Velvet. Erica Blanc in an interview said that she remembered the makeup being very strange because it was applied knowing that it was filmed in black and white. So all the lipstick was these strange shades of purple. The blood likely had brown and black to it more than red.
Yeah.
So it was just a good makeup artist.
Nice.
And there's also an alias credited as a production inspector, John M. Seary, who's actually Sergio Martino, who did Torso.
Yeah. Torso,
Colors of the Dark. So yeah, Guarini really set himself up with like a pro crew early in their career, not just with the crew, but, cast that we'll jump into in a minute.
Yeah.
But you just kind of know like he's in good hands with this all-star cast and crew.
For sure.
So the cast, first you have the reason that this movie was picked, Franco Nero.
Yes.
He plays Mino Alberte, the lead character who loses his mind.
Babyface Franco Nero.
Babyface. He
Oh,
was
my
only
goodness.
23, 24 when this was filmed.
Oh my goodness.
He was only in a handful of roles up to that point. So obviously Django was released the same year.
Yeah.
He actually filmed A Third Eye before Django because of like rigorous censors delaying the release of The Third Eye. Django was released before, but The Third Eye was filmed first. This was like his first lead role. Of course, Django shot him to stardom, landing a ton of like Western roles, crime thriller roles. And I don't think we really need to get into the career of Franco Nero.
Everyone should know and love Franco Nero.
If you don't, just start watching Franco Nero movies right now.
Yeah.
Get in 50 before the end of the year. He's just a gorgeous Italian man. He's still alive, still acting if y'all don't know. But he's also directing too. He has the most glorious mustache.
Ever.
And not only cinema, but in real life, just ever.
Yes.
Sadly, he doesn't have a mustache in The Third Eye.
No.
But he is the most beautiful, clean-shaven man ever. So it doesn't matter.
Yeah, he's still a beautiful man, but I can't watch that and be like, I'm going to ride that mustache. But so
yeah, he is very baby-faced, but he's so handsome.
yes,
I mean, yeah, he's not only fun to look at, but he's a great actor.
yeah,
And everybody has their favorite performances. Django might be on a lot of people's list, but let's talk about some of ours. Do you have some favorites, like offhand on my?
yeah. I mean, I feel like there's a few. I don't necessarily think there's like one standout performance for Nero because I think like he's great and he's like Henry Silva in the way where it's like you already know this is going to be worth watching because he's in it.
Exactly.
Kind of thing. So if I have to pick favorite movies, I mean, obviously they're all going to be like child kill movies. So, I mean, I'm just...
Jesus Christ.
Here's the thing. So obviously, there's High Crime, which I love, Enzo Castellari. And I actually got to see that second time at Exhumed on 35. And it was great because obviously I was cackling my ass off when the little girl got ran over. That's a favorite. What is it? Day of the Cobra, I think, is one. And that's because of that fucking banging theme song. Don't give a damn, I am the Cobra.
Yes.
Street Law. Oh,
yeah,
God.
Street Law is one of my favorite roles of you. That's another Castellari movie.
Fifth Chord.
Fifth Chord is such a great giallo. Yeah.
I know you mentioned Enter the Ninja because, you get to see his mustache. Beneath the...
Not necessarily a great performance.
No.
He's the most awkward ninja ever, but Jesus, is it one of the best times. Cannon Group. Love it.
There's another that he did. I think I covered it on my old podcast called Top Line, which is like his Indiana Jones movie.
I've watched that.
And there's like a scene of there's a robot alien thing that's chasing after Nero and this woman. And there's a bull that kills the robot because the robot's wearing a red shirt. So the bull like charges at it and the bull like or the robot gets like split in half. And then you see the robot all smashed up on the ground and singing Humpty Dumpty for some reason. I don't know. It's random and it's great.
Oh, it's funny. I remember Top Line just being a movie where everybody's chasing Franco Nero and that woman. Like that's it.
That's pretty much the whole entire movie. Yeah, I think that cover there. He's in so many.
Yeah, I'm going to throw out, which was one of my favorite first time watches last year, which was Corbucci's Compañeros.
Oh, duh, yeah.
So, I mean, it's a comedy. It's funny, but it's still a grimy, like violent spaghetti western. He plays oddly a Swedish mercenary.
He can pull anything.
Yeah, he has like this blonde orange hair and mustache. It's glorious, and a lot of people think of him, from his Poliziotteschi like films and spaghetti westerns as kind of a tough guy out for revenge. But he's a great comedic actor, and this role really proves it. And then Hitchhike in 1977.
Yeah.
That one is, he plays a man who's going like through a tough time with his wife. They're driving cross country and they pick up a crazy hitchhiker. And if you could pick one person in all of cinema to play a fucking crazy hitchhiker,
David Hess.
It's David Hess. And that's all you need to know. A fucking crazy David Hess and just Franco Nero losing his mind. Like, and there's these never saw it coming twists happening. Yeah, Franco Nero, every movie, like you said, Henry Silva films, if you see his name in the cast list, you're really going to know you're in for a good time.
Of course.
A few things I did while I feel like I know a lot about Franco Nero, at least his filmography, but something I learned while just doing a little research on him is, did you know that he has albums out, music albums where he sings?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't know this.
Oh, did you listen?
I listened.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I knew he had he sang in some like roles like the English dub, like Camelot when he plays Lancelot. But yeah, there's some on Spotify. One is called Mi Recuerdo, or I Remember, which is a swing and foxtrot album with like a full jazz band. The jazz band's called Big Night Jive, and he sings Italian, or he kind of just sings. It's like, DiGiorno. Oh my God. It's terrible.
No, it's not good. I love it. I love him for everything he does, but yeah, he's not a singer.
Yeah. He did a Christmas single called Franco Nero and Friends Christmas Night. And he sings White Christmas, and one of his friends attempt a cover of Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah. Oh my God. It is one of the worst things I've ever heard.
Oh no.
Everybody check it out. Just, I have to prove myself here. But yeah, I was planning to pull one of his songs to close out this episode. But as I was listening to the first seconds of all of them, I was like, no, I can't do this to anybody. This is bad. So that was really interesting. And I didn't realize he was, I knew he was not just an actor, but he did other stuff in films. Like he's written some stuff and he's directed. And he has a new movie that he recently directed that was making headlines called The Man Who Drew God.
Oh, okay.
It sounds interesting. It's based on a true story about an artist who does true to life portraits just by he's a blind man, and just by listening to his subjects, and he would kind of accurately draw their portraits. But there's a questionable decision in a casting role. This is a movie that hasn't come out yet.
Kevin Spacey?
Kevin Spacey's in it. It's a small role. Obviously Nero got some flack and people questioned him about this. And he's like, it's a small role where we have interested buyers, although nothing's happened since it's been shown at, I guess, some festivals, maybe in Italy last year. But yeah, it's an interesting decision. Faye Dunaway's in it. I mean, I do want to see it. The Kevin Spacey thing obviously is really gross, but interesting decision. Aside from that, though, Franco Nero, he's an amazing international actor. He's in so many Russian movies, Italian, American, Spanish. He's all over the place. Yeah, he's just so great. And also starring in The Third Eye, we have Erica Blanc. She's credited as Diane Sullivan. She's just as much fun to watch on screen as Nero. She's gorgeous. She plays two roles in this. Laura, Mino's fiance, who dies, and then also the twin sister, Daniela. So The Third Eye is her second horror film after Lady Morgan's Vengeance, which is also included in that Arrow set with The Third Eye. But this is her first lead role. But she also starred in Mario Bava's Kill Baby Kill in 1966, the Italian horror The Night Evelyn Came Out of the Grave, which I recently watched.
Yeah, I saw that. Honestly, that's been on my watch list for so long. It's one of those where I'm like, I'll get to it. And then for this came up, I was like, oh, I should finally watch it. And then I didn't.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it drew some similarity because I read the synopsis and I was like, oh, maybe this could work as a double feature pick.
Mhm.
Will it be my double feature pick? I don't know. No, it won't.
Okay.
But yeah, it's about like this rich man who lives in a castle alone, and he lures men to the castle and kills them. Erica Blanc plays one of like a stripper that he takes back to his castle.
Right.
She's in The Devil's Nightmare. She stars alongside Carol Baker in Umberto Lenzi's So Sweet, So Perverse. She has a small role in one of my favorite new watches for this year, Big Guns.
Oh, yeah.
From 1972.
Oh, one of my other husbands.
Tessara, yeah.
No,
Elaine
Delon.
Elaine Delon.
Mhm.
I like to say Alain Delon just because it just rolls
I know
off
it sounds better, but
Alain
it's Elaine
Delon.
Delon.
It's like a Damiano Damiani, Alain Delon. But yeah, that is a great fucking movie. Again, Guarini having Nero and Blanc in his lead roles is like a perfect formula for an Italian horror movie. Yeah. Even though they're super young, first time a lot of first time lead roles for them.
She's in another movie I watched. I think it was last year. The Stranger and the Gunfighter. It's that Lee Van Cleef movie I told you about.
Oh yeah, I watched that.
She's in that.
That movie fucking rules.
That's super fun. And then she's in one I watched yesterday called Human Cobras, which is about a guy who's trying to figure out who killed his brother, and they end up tracking whoever is responsible down to Nairobi. So a lot of the movie takes place there. And they even like go on a safari and stuff like that. There's a hunting scene in this though. And I was like, I'm about to fucking turn this movie off because they've got their big guns out and they're pointing them straight at some elephants.
Oh no.
But then one of the hunters gets trampled by an elephant and dies. So worth it.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, it's not, I think it's one of those movies where I wasn't really in the mood for it because it's October and I'm like fully in horror movie mode right now.
Right.
So I'll probably revisit it. I think I gave it like 2.5, but I was like, I know it's not bad, but I'm just like not into this right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, if it has Erica Blanc on it, I'll definitely watch it. So yeah, other than Blanc, I mean, there's really only 2 other cast members other than Nero and Erica Blanc. And the one that I think kind of steals the show, even though her scenes are pretty short-lived, it's the woman playing Franco Nero's mother, the Countess. Her name is Olga Salbelli. She's credited here as Olga Sunbeauty in this. But she began acting in the 1930s. And to me, you can clearly see she's like a veteran actor. She's basically a silent movie actress in this. Like her expressions are ones that you don't see young actors in the 60s using. So while she was acting in the 30s, it makes sense that she relies on like these physical expressions and reactions that are just like you don't need words to know what she's thinking and saying. It's really I think she's great in this.
Yeah, I mean it fits in with this movie though because everything in this is like
it's exaggerated.
So dramatic.
Oh yeah, this is a melodrama through and through.
Yeah.
And you know me with melodramas. Like this shit rules.
This is Lance's Italian soap opera.
Yes. But yeah, Olga Sobelli, I mean, she has a ton of movies I don't recognize. If I started listing them, nobody will recognize them. I certainly didn't.
Yeah.
But she does have a recognizable role in one film that we previously covered, Mill of the Stone Women. She plays Selma the housekeeper.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I love her in The Third Eye. You can just feel her hate and annoyance for everyone.
Oh yeah. It's my people.
And then we have Joya Pascal playing Marta the housekeeper or the servant. She only has one other acting credit, playing a small role in an Italian comedy in 1965. But she was an American actress who was apparently married to someone at the American Embassy in Rome. But she's really great in this role.
Yeah.
And that's the cast and crew. Let's talk about the fucking movie.
Yeah.
So one thing I didn't point out for the production of this movie is where it was filmed. And it was filmed at the Villa Parisi.
Oh, hell yeah. I thought it looked familiar. I was like, is that Villa Parisi? And I didn't look it up. And I was like, Lance will look it up.
Yeah, it is. Burial Ground, Patrick Still Lives, Nightmare Castle, Blood for Dracula. Yeah. Some of the best. Yeah, it doesn't have a lot of the like outside recognizable landmarks.
Right.
This movie is kind of like a single location movie.
Mm-hmm. Except for like a couple of long driving scenes.
Yeah, and then when they go to the club to see where he gets the stripper that he kills later.
Right.
But one thing that is completely that everybody will recognize right offhand is all the elements and similarities to Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho.
Yeah.
So you have the protagonist, Mino, who's basically Norman Bates. They share this infatuation with not only their mother, but taxidermy. Yeah, they both have a very close relationship with their mother, living in the same house. There's even scenes of the mom, the countess, looking through a peephole in the wall, which gives like this voyeuristic kind of gaze of what kind of Norman Bates would do with the tenants in his hotel. There's the double or the doppelganger, Erica Blanc, playing the two sisters, like not really in Psycho, like Janet Leigh and her sister, but Kim Novak in Vertigo. Like that's kind of pulled a lot from that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, you can see like Hitchcock inspiration in this movie a lot.
Yeah, but this one, I mean, it takes it to a new level because not only is, yes, Franco Nero taxidermy like Anthony Perkins in Psycho, but he's not just like stuffing bird. Well, you see Franco Nero ripping a bird open and pulling like innards out and shit. And I was like, ugh, that's ugh. Also, taxidermy. Is that a word? Taxidermy?
Yes.
That doesn't sound right. Anyway, going with it. His fiance. So I get more like I obviously see the connection to like in the influence of Psycho. But my brain first went to D'Amato's Beyond the Darkness.
100%.
And I mean, that makes sense because that was unofficially, I guess, a remake of this film.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. And I'm going to be talking about that film later as well. Having said that, because D'Amato purchased the rights for The Third Eye from Mino Guarini.
Okay.
Directly. Like they were close friends. And Guarini's son, Giacomo Guarini, he actually wrote the screenplay for Beyond the Darkness.
Okay.
So it's all kind of
it is connected. Okay, there you go.
It's even more connected. But yeah, Psycho, Beyond the Darkness. I mean, all these that could be a triple feature. Made in Heaven.
100%. Yeah. I mean, it also The Third Eye also takes the mommy relationship to another level because there's a moment in the film where Marta is talking to the Countess about, oh, well, after he gets married, he's not going to sleep in the same room as you anymore. And I was like, oh my fucking God.
Yeah.
Ew.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, The Third Eye is kind of like, it's pretty progressive for a 60s film, like, especially like you said, Franco Nero tearing apart that bird, which is real.
Yeah.
I mean, and there's other parts too, where, there's the striptease scene too.
Yeah.
And apparently there is nudity in the original cut. But, censors, like I said, the release of this movie was delayed because censors were kind of tearing it apart.
Okay.
There was nudity in there, which, is pretty progressive for a movie. And then one scene, which I'm just jumping around all over the place. But when Marta survives her stabbing and she's crawling through the hallway and just covered in blood.
Oh, she's fucked up.
Yeah, that's like a setup for like every 1980s like horror film. Like you don't see that much. It's black and white, but it's super bloody and just going back to what you talked about with Hellraiser. It's wet and just gross.
Yeah.
And you don't see that in a lot of 60s movies.
And she's crawling to the phone and like
it's one of my favorite scenes.
Knocks it off. Yeah, it's great. Not my favorite is the Countess's death because she gets the shit beat out of her. Yeah,
Marta goes fucking crazy on the mom.
Yeah. And she like pushes her down the stairs and then that's not good enough because the mom is still, or the Countess is still just kind of flailing on the ground. And so Martha gets over there and she fucking, it's off screen, but you can hear it.
Yeah.
Grabs her head and just fucking slamming her head into the fucking ground.
Well, before that, she pushes her down the stairs and then she walks down slowly, kind of like in a state of shock and like just determination at the same time. Like this is fucking happening.
Yeah.
And the mom turns around and has this crazy gash over her face, which looks great.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And you're thinking, what's Marta going to do? And she just kicks her in the face first, and then starts bashing her head onto the floor, which is tough to watch. So I had read too that The Third Eye wasn't the original title for this. The working title for this was called The Cold Kiss of the Dead.
I like that better.
Yeah. Because it hints at necrophilia. It hints at like this, maybe there's some sort of romantic, like there's like this weird love triangle going on in The Third Eye.
Yeah.
Third Eye has like a supernatural kind of connotation.
Yeah. There's like one line in the film where he mentions it, I think.
Yeah. What does he say? He says, after killing his second victim, he says, it's as if I have a third eye that wants to see only violence and death.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, but
yeah, I mean, because, and I'd read too that, you know, the original working title, the Cold Kiss of the Dead, did have a lot of rewrites and changes. There is mention, Marta mentions an acid bath, like an acid pit. Do you remember that? Where he's like, you know, what do we do with the body? And she's like, it's the first victim that stripped her. And she says something like, let's put in the acid. Put her in the acid in the basement.
Oh, so they had a scene with that?
Yeah, apparently there was, in a trap door, they had a scene in there.
Oh, like Bloodbath, kind of.
Yeah,
like
or...
wax, you know?
Yeah, Bloodbath. And what's the other one? The one with Vincent Price.
House on Haunted Hill?
Yeah, I remember there's a scene with that acid bath on the very end.
Yeah.
There was another one too, I thought, that I saw. That the mother had psychic powers too at some point. She was some sort of medium. Which and then maybe that turned into the rewriting of the third eye and they took that out.
Yeah.
I mean, the third eye is a 15-minute Tool song. Prying open my third eye.
Okay, stop.
Prying.
Stop.
But yeah, I mean, the censors definitely held this back, I felt like, because I do think again, it's progressive, I think, for the 60s, but just imagine what they could have done with like the hints of necrophilia, the obvious sexual gratification that Mino got when he was murdering his victims, very much like Victor Buono in The Strangler.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like camera up in his face, eyes rolling back, sweaty. I'm like, fuck yeah, he's Buonoing it. But yeah, some of my favorite scenes. I mean, you mentioned one with Marta crawling through the hallway.
Yeah.
My favorites are Franco Nero just fucking hamming it up.
It's so interesting to see him like this. And this is why I love him, is because I can get like gritty, dirty Django, and then I can get clean cut, naive, awkward, immature Mino in this, like in the same year. Like, I love it.
Yeah. And you can tell Franco Nero is he's a young actor, again, like 23 years old, but he's finding his acting voice, you know, and I'm sure he was directed to just be completely melodramatic. But one of my favorite scenes is when he has like a stick and he's poking the parrot.
Yeah.
And he's like laughing, and then he starts crying, and it's just like, it's like, if somebody told me like to immediately act and do like, I want you to laugh and then just start crying, like it'd be that bad. But it like works so well because he is such a maniac in this.
Yeah.
Like, you know, he's losing his mind. A lot of people will consider, I think, his performance as this is terrible. And I read some reviews on Letterboxd where people do kind of just gripe on how terrible all the acting is.
How dare you?
Exactly.
You're not allowed to say bad things about Franco Nero, folks.
Yeah, I think it's a perfect way to show how mad this character is. And his random yells, like when he does yell, he's like, no. You know, it's so much. Yeah, I love all his scenes in it. I do think Olga Sobelli, his mom, steals a lot of takes like the acting cred in this movie, but Franco Nero just losing his mind as Mino is next level.
Yeah.
Because you know me, and like we said, in melodramas, like I fucking love soap opera elements. And this has it.
It does. It's 100% an Italian soap opera, custom made for Lance.
Yeah, you have the love triangle, the disapproving mother, the son's relationship, the twin sister shows up and like, you know, spins everything out of control. The first scene that really got to that I realized, oh, this might be what I hope it is when Laura shows up in the credits. She's running through a field with like flowers to give to Mino's mother. And she hands them to Marta when she walks in. And she's like, here you go, give those to the mother. And she walks off, and Marta just starts like tearing the flowers like apart. Very dramatic. There's a lot of zoom in on the eyes for reactions and drama effect. I thought the pacing was really well done.
Yeah.
I think some of the scene transitions are kind of questionable. They felt kind of like made for TV, where the camera will maybe just like zoom in and focus in on a random object, or just weirdly fading out here and there. But I don't know. I felt like it moved along really well. Yeah, as soon as there was a lull where Well, it's not really a lull. It's one of my favorite scenes, actually. It's when he has his Full Metal breakdown and he starts seeing like his mother and Laura and stuff.
Mhm.
But it's a scene that kind of goes on, but then it immediately cuts to the other location, the club, and like the stripper like dancing and stuff. And,
Yeah.
and it's kind of really, and that's about the halfway mark where it really kind of, I don't know, takes you out of any lull that you might be feeling at that point.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought the camera work is really well done. Again, I love all the zooming in on the eyes, the framing of the shots.
Mhm.
A lot of scenes where the characters like in the foreground, it's like their profile, kind of like a
Yeah.
Italian, like a spaghetti western or something.
Yeah.
The car wreck, when Laura has her brakes cut in the car wreck.
Yeah.
Those shots are really well done because the camera's moving like a car flipping over off the cliff, and it looks really good.
It does.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I did want to ask is because there's a lot of kills in this. Like we went over some of the kills.
There's like that whole period after his mom dies, and which is after Laura's death, that he's in this new routine. Like it's a year long of him picking up women, bringing them home, killing them next to his taxidermied fiance.
Yes.
And
Yeah, and then in the end, Mino stabs brutally Marta
Yes.
at least a dozen times.
Oh yeah.
So Marta is planning to kill Daniela, but Mino steps in and stabs her just tons of times.
Right.
And that's when she becomes that bloody mess. Yeah, and then the ending is a little strange. Where he thinks he kills Marta, and he takes Daniela, leaves the house, and on the way there, he has to get gas, so she throws his registration out the window, and then the gas tenants end up calling the police. The police call the house, basically saying, "Hey, we found your registration," and Marta's crawling down the hallway trying to get to the phone, barely alive. She answers it, then the police show up and see all the shit that's gone down.
Yeah.
But then Mino is wanting to kill Daniela, I guess, at that point, because he thinks like she's Laura. Like they kind of want to. He's losing his mind in the car, saying like, "Yo, where's your wedding dress?" He thinks it's Laura. He thinks they're going to their wedding. The cops show up, and he's basically just yelling crazy shit.
Oh
like,
yeah, he's out of it.
She's the one who killed my mom and killed Marta. And the cops are playing stupid. They're playing along, and they're like, "Okay, cool, yeah. Well, let's take her away. Let's arrest her.
Right.
You come with us. We need a report from you. You need to make a statement."
Yeah.
And the ending's okay. I like it because it's the first time you see the Mino character. He gets placed in the police car. They ask him if he wants a cigarette. And he's like, "I've never smoked before." And he's like, he's smoking. It's the first time you see him happy in the entire movie. Like he's calm. He got away with everything, but you realize, he's completely caught. So it's a pretty good ending.
Yeah.
Do you have any sympathy for any of the characters in here? Because they're all kind of terrible in their own regard. I mean, I think Daniela is the exception because she just shows up.
I'm kind of just neutral on Daniela.
Yeah.
I guess I'm sort of rooting for, but by default, I can't not root for Franco Nero. Like it's just impossible. No matter what role he's in, I'm rooting for him.
Yeah.
So, no, yeah. Like, I mean...
Yeah, there's like no salvation for these people.
No.
They're heading for their destruction. I mean, I think Daniela, and I think the mother might be one I can sympathize with just because she's a bitch.
Yeah.
But all she wanted was...
For her son to sleep in her room with her?
Well...
Come on.
Don't focus on that.
How can I not?
She wanted her son to just stay with them and care for him. And I mean, I don't think she should have been killed. That's what I'm saying. That's the one character
you
where I'm
put her in an old folks home.
Yeah. Yeah. He should have taxidermied his mom.
There you go. Could have kept her around just like Norman Bates did,
Put her in the bed right next to Laura and
have a three-way.
Franco Nero style.
There you go. Got incest and necrophilia. Now you're hitting all the notes, Lance.
Yes. Okay. So yeah, overall, I love the exaggerated performance in this movie. I would totally recommend it. Seeing these young Italian stars, Nero, Erica Blanc, but Nero is the baby face.
Mm-hmm.
You can see him developing his craft. It's really fun to watch.
Yeah.
Lance says, check it out.
Agreed. 100%. Pick up, either watch it on Arrow, watch it on YouTube, pick up the box set, whatever you do. Watch Baby Franco Nero.
Yes, you can't go wrong.
No.
What would you pair this with?
I'm going to actually pick one that I picked before. We've brought up Mill of the Stone Women quite a bit. And so my double feature pick for that was The Horrible Dr. Hitchcock from 1962, directed by Ricardo Freda. And I'm going to pick it again for this because it works.
Okay.
So this is about the necrophiliac Dr. Hitchcock. It's spelled Hitchcock without the T, but I mean, we're talking about Hitchcock here too, so it fits.
Yeah, perfectly.
Anyway, so he likes to drug his wife for sexual funeral games. So basically, he wants his wife to be essentially like she's dead before he can have sex with her. One day, he accidentally gives her too much, and she does die. So several years later, he ends up getting remarried, and the intention is he's going to use her blood to bring his wife back to life, and his old wife being Barbara Steele. So of course you want to bring her back to life.
Yes.
So, I mean, I'm really just picking it for the, your one true love is the one that is dead, and you're keeping her by her side.
That's a good one.
What about you?
So yeah, we've already talked about like two obvious choices. Like there's Hitchcock Psycho, and then there's Joe D'Amato's Beyond the Darkness. I'm going with Beyond the Darkness.
I mean, that's the correct answer. I mean, It's a perfect double feature.
It is. It's 1979, so released 13 years after The Third Eye, but it's Joe D'Amato, so it's way more exploitive, graphic.
I love this movie so fucking much.
It is, yeah. When I was thinking about it, and I went back and checked what I gave it on Letterboxd, I'm like, that is not wrong. I gave it like 3.5 stars. I feel like it should be at least 4. I need to rewatch it again, but yeah, it's basically the same. You have a young man, Francesco, who's an orphan living in a large house, which he inherited. And the family housekeeper lives with him, and she wants the house and feels threatened by Francesco's fiance. So she murders her using a curse. And Francesco digs up her body. Being a taxidermist, he preserves her corpse and begins killing women. Very much the same story, but D'Amato takes it to that D'Amato level.
Hell yeah.
And that's why you're watching it. I mean, you see him dissect his fiance, disemboweling her. You get the guts, inserting glass eyes into her sockets. The murders he commits are very gruesome. His fiance's twin sister does show up, so that element's there too. The ending is much more satisfying than The Third Eye, in my opinion.
Okay. Yeah.
It just really goes for it. Yeah, I could see maybe somebody's turned off because of the plots are essentially the same. But it's just really fun to see the differences in the time periods, and one person, at the 60s, so it's held back and restrained, and then you get fucking D'Amato just doing an exploitation film through and through of the same story. So I think it'd make a fun double billing. And it has an amazing Goblin score.
Yes.
It's on Tubi. Severin has a release too, but everybody should watch Beyond the Darkness if you haven't already.
There's a 88 films release too.
Oh, is there?
Yeah,
nice.
For our UK folks. So
very cool.
Yeah.
Okay, Erica, we're ready to close out October, which that means a couple things. So our Horror Gives Back charity, or the challenge is ending. So thank you to everybody who's been following along so far.
Yeah,
that's going to be open till
November 2nd. You can make donations up and through the end of the day that day. We've already had 3 people donate, so thank you, folks. I saw that. You can make your donations before if you know how many movies you're going to watch, or you can wait till the 31st or the 1st or
I always wait till the end and tally up my count.
Yeah, I never know exactly how many I'm going to watch. Like I have my list of 31 that I'll talk about. Just kidding. I'm going to talk about like 50.
No.
But yeah, you can make your donations at any time. Been really enjoying folks sharing their picks. Thanks, Ryan and Lisa and Adam, Francisco, some other folks sharing. Really appreciate it. Also want to say thanks to everyone unrelated who reached out to us and asked for a copy of Trapped, because we had quite a few people reach out to request a copy of that. Apologies to Justin, because I didn't see his message on Twitter for like a week. I'm really bad at Twitter. I get on there, I do my post, I retweet friend stuff, and then I get off, because as soon as I see something that pisses me off, I'm like, I got to get off.
Yeah, it can be a shit show.
Fucking Twitter. Yeah, so Horror Gives Back, wrapping up here soon. We'll have a bonus episode covering all of our picks for that too. And we'll share how much we were able to raise this year.
Yes. And No Rules November.
Yes.
It's coming.
It's that time.
What do you got? You're the first of No Rules.
I know. This is the hardest pick of the year because it's easy when you can say, here's the rule. It's under 1,000 views.
Right.
It's so much harder because then it just opens it up to everything.
Yeah, you don't want to pick something that's been covered or it's too popular, but you want, that everybody already knows about.
Yeah.
It might be one of your favorite movies. Like there's just a lot of like, shit, is it okay if I pick this? Whereas our Unsung Horrors rules, the under 1,000, like I prefer the rules.
I do too. But I still love No Rules November.
I do too, yeah.
So, no shade on our picks for No Rules November, but we do prefer to stay within our rules, which is why we only do this once a year, where we break the rule and say any movie doesn't have to fall under 1,000 views on Letterboxd. So I struggled. I was like, okay, I got it down to 4 picks. Then I got it down to 2. And I was like, maybe I'll just flip a coin while we're recording. And then I was like, no, because then I don't want folks to be like, oh, you should pick the other one. So no, I'm not even going to tell folks what I was going in between. I'm just going to go with what my pick is.
Yes.
And this is one that I know that some of our listeners have seen. So I'm saving them some homework as well. So my No Rules November pick is The Blood Spattered Bride from 1972. It's a Spanish horror movie directed by Vicente Aranda. And it's an adaptation of the 1872, I believe is a year, novella Carmilla by Sheridan Le Fanu, which Carmilla has been adapted a million times. If you've seen any lesbian vampire movie, that's basically based on Carmilla. And I do recommend reading it. It's short. You can find it online. It's like 50 or 60 pages, I think. I read it a few years ago, probably revisit it for this. But Blood Spattered Bride. It is about a recently married woman named Susan, and she begins having these sort of disturbing nightmares. Then those become sort of more brutal when a strange woman named Mircalla, Carmilla is spelled backwards, sort of, or inverted, I guess.
Alucard.
Comes to stay, exactly, like Alucard. So Mircalla comes to stay with them, and she's this older woman, and she has an influence on Susan. It's a very heavily feminist movie. There's a lot of lines in here that, as a woman, I just stand up and cheer for. And yeah, I love this movie. I'm excited to talk about it. I hope that anyone who hasn't seen it gets a chance to check it out. Making it easy this time, folks. It's streaming on Tubi.
Whoa.
I know. Good for me. There's also a Mondo Macabro Blu-ray, which I do recommend picking up because it's got a Kat Ellinger and Sam Deegan commentary track on it.
Nice.
I think there might be another Blu-ray floating out there, but I don't remember who put that out. But I just recommend the Mondo one because Kat and Sam commentary. So how can you go wrong?
Right. Exciting. This is a good one.
Have you seen this one before?
I have not.
Hell yeah. I'm excited for you then.
Yes.
All right. So No Rules November starts next month. Horror Gives Back ends the 31st. Keep those picks coming. Keep those donations or get those donations coming in. And if you're not already, you can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, all at Unsung Horrors. You can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Letterboxd at Hex Massacre.
I'm on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd at El Shaibi.
Thanks everyone for listening, and happy Horror Gives Back.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, it's Death by Video.
I'm Phil.
I'm Kit.
And I'm Graham saying welcome to our podcast full of merry movie mayhem.
Ever wonder what an Irish kung fu movie would look like?
It's called Fatal Deviation, and we covered it.
Ever wonder what a movie about 1,000 cats would look like?
It's called Night of 1,000 Cats, and we covered it.
And it stars Hugo Stiglitz. Listen to Death by Video to hear us discuss and dissect some of the weirdest, wildest, and wackiest films ever made. All this and more on Death by Video! Woo!